meeting.
Yeah. Probably a good choice.
You know what I chose.
Really detailed meeting too. I got
Was it?
paid that quarter notes.
Wow. Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, the project.
Which we could probably give that speech in our, right now.
Sure. Hope the sun's stunning instead of.
Yeah. So student coming?
Here.
Just asked about him.
Yeah,
It's in a few things. I haven't seen him do that. He usually here.
yeah, he's usually here.
So he's on the toast.
Mike. Virgil's Apple TV.
You're up
Mhm.
ready to go. I'll start.
I did.
Think I'm-
A million years ago.
It's Apple TV now.
Dr. what's on? Yeah.
Should be fine.
Should we get started with him?
He's gonna be late.
He's gonna be late. Okay. All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Can we, everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, moving on to roll call. Marianne,
Here?
Scott. I am here. Amy,
I'm here.
Dirk.
Here.
Danny.
Here.
Ryan.
Here.
I am here. Javon is a few minutes late, so we will get moving without him. May I have a motion and a second to approve the roll?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to approval of the agenda. Any questions, comments about the agenda? Okay, may I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
You, meetings of previous minutes, any questions, comments about the previous minutes? Okay, may I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, communications, no new communications this week, but last week we did talk, Erie One BOCES, their Board of Education, vote for their two candidates.
Did get a lot of communication.
And we had a lot of communication from the public,
Hold of us
centered around the art program,
program.
which we will address with the superintendent's report and questions.
Which I really appreciate, especially when students are, this is what you're supposed to do. Let us hear your opinions. And I think it's great when, especially the students, you know, get a hold of the board and tell us what you think. That's what it's about.
Are there any other communications? I know we've had also, the state has filed another exemption or extension, sorry, on the state budget. So hopefully we can get there soon. Any unfinished business? We don't have any, which leads us to the superintendent report. So Dr. Genestri.
Thank you, Mr. Belanti. So I appreciate everybody's attendance tonight. We want to start off by recognizing some of our student athletes that have had a phenomenal winter season and represented Sweet Home so well on and off the field of play. And we've got quite a few of our student athletes here tonight that we want to honor because they won sections or made it to the state finals or won a state championship. And, you know, we're really working hard with our athletic council to boost our athletic program. And these students are leading the way. And we really wanted to bring them to the board meeting tonight and make sure that they're recognized by the board and the district for all their hard work. It's not easy being a champion and working towards a championship. Not only does it take a lot of effort on the field, off the field, but in the classroom as well. And we're just super proud of our student athletes and what they accomplished this winter. We know we're in the middle of the spring season as well. And we want to say, first of all, thank you for your efforts. Second of all, keep up the great work, and thank you for representing Sweet Home so well. So without further ado, we have some student athletes in attendance tonight. And first I want to recognize Sean McGrath, if he's here. Sean? Not here? Okay. But Sean became the Erie County Interscholastic Conference Division II Player of the Year and was named to the first team All ECIC team. So I want to congratulate Sean in basketball. Abduali Mukamov. Is he here? There, come on up. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Abduali had an 8th place finish at the New York State Public High School Athletic Association Wrestling State Championships.
Turn it on. Let's see.
Great job. Thank you.
There you go.
Muhammad Karzan, come on up. Muhammad qualified for the New York State Public High School Athletic Association Indoor Track and Field Championships. On Staten Island, he ran his personal best for the 4x200 and placed 3rd at the public schools intersectional relays. Congratulations, Muhammad. Cardin Vega. Come on up, Cardin.
What am I doing?
Cardin qualified for the New York State Public High School Athletic Association Indoor Track and Field Championships on Staten Island as well. He ran his personal best for the 4x200. Congratulations, Cardin. Alexander Jemison. Come on up, Alexander. Come on over.
Good job. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Alexander.
Alexander qualified for the New York State Public High School Athletic Association Indoor Track and Field Championships in Staten Island. He ran his personal best in the 4x200 as well. Congratulations, Alexander. Lena Hall. Come on over. Congratulations. Whoop.
I'll keep that.
Alana qualified for the New York State Public High School Athletic Association Indoor Track and Field Championships in Staten Island and placed 20th in the pole vault. Congratulations. Is Jaden Leonard here? Janet, come on over. Jaden qualified for the New York State Public High School Athletic Association Indoor Track and Field Championships in Staten Island. He ran his personal best as well in the 4x200. Great job, Jaden. Rafaela Ventura, come on up.
Congratulations.
Rafi made it to the Final Four and became a section champion in ice hockey for Cash. And she had a pretty big injury, and I think you missed the last two, right? unfortunately, but if we had her, we know we would have come away with the state championship. No question about it. She's a heck of a defenseman. So we missed her out there. Defense person. Sorry. So great job. Thank you. And Haley Yurston. Haley also made it to the Final Four in hockey for cash. The team got a lot of great publicity for the school, so it was wonderful. So great job. And we'll be celebrating a couple more athletes who couldn't make it tonight, Alexandria Reed and Finn Crowther. They'll be here next week, so we will give them their certificates next week. So I don't know if we want to do a group picture of all of our athletes here tonight, if they can come on up in front, and we'll get a group picture with the board to celebrate their accomplishments.
Around or?
Sure. Yeah.
Good picture with that. Come on. One more spot.
One more down a little bit, Brian.
Oh. I was thought
We're
Mike
trying to
and
hide.
each other.
Stay where we are.
So our athletes are more than welcome to stay for the entire meeting, but being athletes, there's probably something that you want to watch at 7:30 tonight, and we understand if you would like to be dismissed, and there they go.
I have to think twice. Oh, look how cute.
See the baby.
Remember when ours were that little?
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
right, like.
Bring the baby over. Want to say hello. Shake hands.
So sweet.
I'll give them, everybody a chance to filter into the.
Okay.
Give a chance to filter into the empty seats.
Okay.
Okay.
So I know we gave a budget presentation, last week. I'm going to ask Mr. Feldman to come on up, kind of give us the latest. We're required by now to ask the board to vote on the, budget, for next year. And, Don's going to give the latest on where we are with everything. And, not much has changed in a week, but, so. are we-
Okay, if you could start the slideshow, please. Again, this is the fourth time that the Board of Education has studied the budget in public. This is just kind of our process. It's important to kind of highlight some things along the way from that end. Last night at 5 p.m. Was the deadline for school board candidates to turn in their nominating petitions. We have 2 candidates next year for 1 seat. We'll talk a little bit about that a little later. The last day for our Board of Education or for boards of education across New York State to adopt next year's budget is this Friday, April 24th. Obviously, our board is voting on that tonight. The property tax report card, which is something that the board also votes on, is due to New York State by April 27th. So we'll be able to meet that deadline. And then the last two pieces, we are required to do a public hearing on the proposed budget. That'll happen on May 5th in conjunction with Meet the Candidates Night. So we do meet the candidates, the Board of Education candidates, and then we do a public hearing on the budget where we present the budget. Again, the adopted budget again in the three parts that are required by New York State: the program budget, the capital budget, and the instructional budget. And then lastly, the annual budget vote day and school board election is Tuesday, May 19th, from 7 o'clock to 9 p.m. right here in Virgil's. So for us internally, as I mentioned, creating a budget is a process. You see there in significant detail the process that we've gone through from really the onset of creating the budget, really in December through where we are today. As I mentioned to you all, this is the fourth time that the board will see the budget in public format, and tonight they will adopt it. To this point, we have met with a number of people, obviously our internal administrators and supervisors, to talk about their school and department budgets. We've gone through our line by line, our BOCES participation budget. We've gone through the budget itself line by line to try and realize any savings. We've met with our financial advisor to take a look at where we are in terms of debt service going forward. And then we've made projections both on the revenue side and on the expense side to get to a balanced budget, which is where we are tonight. So the last line there, again, April 21st, for us internally is a date that the Board of Education will vote to adopt our 26-27 budget. It's important to note that that budget is a number. It's $108 million this year, a little over $108 million. Inside of that budget, obviously we have some flexibility, but this just sets our spending cap limit from that end. So obviously there are two sides to the budget. I just want to make note of it. Mr. Belante mentioned to you all at the onset of the meeting, many of our revenues are driven from New York State, including our foundation aid number, which is significant, as you can see up there. It is April 21st today. New York State has not passed a budget. They have not passed a budget on time, which is April 1st for them, in the last 7 years. So we've been building our own school budgets at the state level, at the local level, really flying blind. We are basing it on a governor's proposal, an executive proposal that came out in mid-January. Again, that goes through the process, the two-house process for their ratification. Obviously, there are some hangups there from that end. Otherwise, we would have a balanced budget, but right now we do not. So I just want to kind of point out just some highlights of the budget, of the revenue side of the budget. We did, in the budget before you tonight, we did book $27,320,000 in basic foundation aid. That represents a 2% increase, which is higher than what the governor's proposal gave us in January. The governor's proposal gave us in January a 1.5% bump. In my circles, the business office official circles, the New York State Association of School Business Officials, the New York State Council of School Superintendents as well, have indicated that that number will likely be minimally 2%. So we did take 2% in our budget for this year. The additional 0.5% for us is about $120,000. So we did book it at 2%. So year over year for us, the basic foundation aid has increased $533,000. I did report to you all last week that we did receive some good news on our expense-driven aids, specifically related to transportation and special education we did expect to receive a bump in that expense-driven aid of about $569,000 to the tune of a little over $7 million. So for us, year over year, that bottom line, year over year increase in total aid, along with the UPK additional aid that is part of the governor's proposal, $690,000. We will see a year over year increase in aid from New York State of approximately $1.87 million. The other part that really drives our budget on the revenue side is our tax cap, which is the cap on our tax levy that we are allowed to raise taxes to. There are a number of factors that go into the tax cap. Many of folks out there hear a 2% tax cap. The 2% tax cap is in name only. There are a number of things, tax cap exclusions that can bump that number up. Our tax cap for the purposes of our budget this year is 3.3%, which is an increase year over year of $1.79 million. Much of that money is tied up in bus purchases. For every bus purchase that we make or attempt to make, pending a successful budget, that dollar for dollar is an exception on the tax cap, which means we can pass that on through a raise in the tax levy. So the tax cap that we've authorized or recommended to you for your approval includes the purchase of 10 buses. 4 large electric buses, 3 large diesel buses, 2 small diesel buses, and with wheelchairs, and then 1 small diesel bus. I'll just make note of it just for the public. The 4 large electric buses you see have a sticker price or a cost to the district of $164,965. The actual sticker price of that bus is $300,000 higher, so it's about $464,000. From that end, we've worked very hard to obtain grant funding from the EPA at the federal level, as well as NYSERDA at the state level. So we do see those buses at a significantly reduced rate to us. In fact, a lower rate than what we would be charged a diesel bus. Mr. Johnson or Mr. Belanti, could you just hit the next arrow there? Another driver for us on the revenue side, and this was something that we reported last week, we do receive quarterly sales tax receipts from Erie County. You see there that from Erie County, for us this year through 3 quarters, we've realized about $4.1 million in sales tax receipts that have come to the district. At a similar time last year, that 3rd quarter payment came to us right at the end of March. We'll see another payment right at the end of June for the 4th quarter. Similarly, just comparing this current year, 25-26, to the 24-25 school year through 3 quarters. Again, this year we are at 4.1 million. Last year we were at 3.9 million, difference of about $263,000. When we presented the budget to you in March, before we had the 3rd quarter projection for sales tax, we had estimated $5.7 million in sales tax revenue. In this current budget and on the proposed budget that we are asking for your ratification, we've bumped that up to $5.8 million. So this is a closer look at our total revenue. Not real easy to see. I apologize for that. But on the revenue side, we do realize a balanced budget at $108,608,147, which is an increase of a little over $3 million, which is a budget to budget increase year over year of 2.87%. Then shifting to kind of the expense side, these are some known budgetary impacts. We've talked about these several times. I just think it's good for us to kind of delineate yet again for the public, just some of the major increases that we've seen over the course of the budgetary process for us. I won't read them line by line, but I do want to talk about, really honestly, the last two lines. Those were new to us in March. The district health insurance coverage through the New York 44 Trust. We did see significant increases in premium costs for that, depending upon the plan that our employees are in. And there's 4 levels: single and spouse, single and child, and family. Those increases ran from anywhere from 11.5% to 13%, which for us translated to a health insurance increase of about $1.2 million. And then we are part of a utilities cooperative, and we got our estimates towards the end of March based upon our usage and cost increases. We did see an increase in our utilities from what we had budgeted in March of about $400,000. So gas and electric prices, as we all know, have significantly increased over the last little while. So year over year, again, those categories of the budget, from the 25-26 school year to next year, the 26-27 school year, we do expect to see an increase in just those categories alone, over $4 million. So we did present to the board last month from an operational standpoint, and Dr. Dinestri will talk about staffing in a moment. These are some of the things that we looked at to close our budgetary gap. When we presented to you in March, we presented to you a budgetary gap of a little over $2 million, and we went to work to try and close that gap. In February, you'll remember that we did recommend including, as a part of our cost savings, addition of 2 exceptional classrooms at the elementary level to the tune of a savings of about $450,000. And then bringing back OT and PT, occupational therapists and physical therapists from a contractual standpoint, when we were outsourcing them, back to in-district to a savings of about $227,000. So when we looked at it, if those were factored in initially, the budgetary gap was really closer to about $2.5 million than the $2 million that we talked about. Mike, yeah, thanks. Yeah, that slide there. So we did realize some savings, and again, I won't read them all, but we did realize some savings really across all levels to help us get to a point where we got closer, closed the budget gap to about $660,000. And then we looked at staffing from that end of things and made some recommendations last month that Dr. Dinestri will go through. So in total, we've spent, I did this last week as well. But I want to thank many of the folks here in district, our central office team, our building administrative teams. We've really spent an inordinate amount of time to try and work through the budget to close a budgetary gap that didn't have a significant impact on staffing and or kids from that end. And I'm pretty proud of the fact that, we've looked at and made some recommendations to the tune of about $1.4 million, and then through some staffing arrangements to get to a balanced budget. So in summary, we are presenting to you tonight a balanced budget of $108 million, $108,608,147, which I did mention to you year over year is 2.87%. So on the revenue side of that $108 million, $56.283 million is money that will be raised through the local tax levy, which is an increase year over year of about 3.3%. And on the expense side, obviously we match at $108,608,147 to present to you tonight a balanced budget. So this is one thing that we generally do every year to be able to provide our best guess estimate on how the budget would impact the local taxpayer and the tax bill. I always caution everybody that we use assessed values from the current year. So from the 25 school year, we do use assessed values to estimate. We don't get assessment values from both of the towns until August when we set our tax rates. So we are using older data. We are also using data, current data for equalization rates at the town. The town of Amherst is 99%. The town of Tonawanda is 21%. I would expect both of those to adjust a little bit, but it does include, this estimate does include the district going to the full tax cap of 3.3% or $56 million. So we do use an average assessed value home of $250,000 across the district to estimate our tax bills. So in the town of Amherst, if, again, using this information, the tax bill for, the estimated tax bill for the 26-27 school year for an assessed value home of $250,000 would be $2,477. The tax rate would be $10.01. Which would be an increase of $79 million. $79 million. So, I've been talking about the budget for too long. $79 year over year. And then again, on the Tonawanda side, it would translate to a tax rate of $47.30 per thousand for a tax bill of $2,483, year over year tax bill increase of $79. I will say that I would expect those rates to go down because our assessment values will likely go up. So that will have an impact on the tax bills for our community. Again, we do not know assessment values until August when we are given those from each of the townships. And then the last piece of it, just for the public's edification, on Tuesday, May 19th, this is what we will be voting on. There will be three different propositions on the ballot. The first would be the approval of the budget, which again is $108,608,147. It is a budget-to-budget increase of 2.87%, a tax levy increase of 3.3% year over year. We are also on the ballot asking for the permission of the public, the authorization from the public for the use of general funds over the course of the next 2 school years to extend the Maplemere temporary classroom lease. It would be to allow us to expend a total of $52,920 over 2 years, so $26,000 a year to maintain those temporary classrooms at Maplemere until we can get shovels in the ground to build the new addition as planned as part of the capital improvement project. Because we are expending money out of the general fund, it does require voter authorization. It is similar. We did the exact resolution in 2024 to do the last 2 school years. But in order to maintain those and to be copacetic in state ed's eyes, we need to go through that process. And then the last piece of it is, as I mentioned earlier, we will elect 1 Board of Education member. The term of Mr. Belanti expires on June 30th, 2026. And we do have 2 candidates for the seat, Mr. Belanti being one, Jessica Stevens being the other. As I do mention that we will get an opportunity to meet the candidates on May the 5th here prior to the budget hearing. Information will be included on each of their candidacies in the Sweet Home Source that will be mailed home this month, as well as on our website. So again, I'll just conclude before I turn it over to Dr. Ginestri. The voting details for the district, again, Tuesday, May 19th, 2026, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Right here in Virgil Center. You must be 18 years age to vote and a resident of the district for 30 days. So I'll leave it at that. I don't know if anybody has any questions specific to kind of the operational piece of the budget before Dr. Ginestri talks about staffing.
I got a question.
Sure.
On the budget for vote to the public. compared to the agenda tonight, the agenda tonight has like about 30 line items. When we actually vote, when the public votes, I think it's a lot less than that. Is that correct?
Well, the budget itself has several lines. There are requirements as to what we need to present to you as a board in terms of a resolution. But when we come back, when I come back in May, we'll present it in 3 parts so that they can see. But essentially, the public is voting on the budget in totality, that $108 million number.
Okay. But within there is some flexibility, I guess, within those line items because.
Yes, there is. It's a number. It's a number. We can't spend above that number. But much like we've done in years previous, we've talked about it ad infinitum. The registration office, the central registration office is a very busy place over the summertime as things continue to evolve. If class sizes dictate, if, things change in terms of our enrollment, both to the good and the bad, we would look to make adjustments from that end of things. The budget is built with some flexibility in it to be able to do those things, but, obviously we'll address needs as they come.
So,
Thank you.
oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
To clarify, what we, the board, are voting on this evening is the number. We're voting on the buckets of the numbers. We're not voting on staffing shifts. We're not voting on those specific things. We are voting just on the number, which then goes to the public to do their vote.
You're voting on a number. That number is built upon a staffing plan.
Right.
Obviously, that staffing plan could potentially change
Right.
depending upon what happens in the next coming months from that end of things. We do have some flexibility in the budget. The number is the number. If things change dramatically and we need to add somewhere else, it's likely going to come at the expense of something else.
Right.
Again, you are setting right now tonight by voting on this, you are setting the tax levy limit, which is the amount of money that we can raise, and then the amount of money that we can spend on the budget, which is the $108 million. To Mr. Leibel's point, to your point, there is some flexibility in that budget as to how we spend it. We change all the time. We pivot all the time. There are needs that come up all the time, and we pivot and we change. And ultimately, it's your job, it's my job to do, likely what is in the best interest of kids at the time. And I'm pretty proud of the fact that we build in enough flexibility in a budget to be able to mitigate some of those things.
Thank you.
So we're not voting on actual positions or staffing, just that number.
You're voting on a number, but again, the number is predicated on a staffing plan. So if there are things, if there are things that change, and we need to pivot in areas, I can't spend a penny above the $108 million without dipping into reserves, which is something that we've worked very hard not to do.
Kind of like your paycheck, you get this much money for the year. And if your hot water tank goes, you got to figure out how to do that, right? Like you go into reserves or you move stuff around. That's kind of how this goes.
That's a good
I ask
analogy.
on the revenue side, I did notice that on your sales tax revenue expectations, you didn't add anything for the fourth quarter in your estimate. You actually lowered it versus the prior year.
That's
I know once we vote on this, if you do find additional revenues, that ends up where? That ends up in
So
reserve somehow?
I'm just going to correct you.
Yeah, go right ahead.
No, that's fine. We actually increased our sales tax projections from the last time 5.7 million to 5.8 million. We are trending. If I look at, let me look at the slide here again. If I made a mistake on the slide, I apologize. No, the slide's correct. So I gave you real numbers in 26, 27. I don't know what the fourth quarter is yet. So those are real actual numbers
Right.
from that end of things. So based upon the third quarter receipt that we received from Erie County, we changed our overall projection for next year from 5.7 million to 5.8 million. I will say that if we receive above that, that is essentially surplus. and that number could potentially go to reserves at the end of next school year if the rest of the revenue side of the budget performs as we expect.
So the only other thing that may impact revenues is the amount we get for above the 2% increase from the state. Is that correct also? And
That's
that
correct.
That would impact at the beginning of the school year. And that would also go to reserves. And do I understand that right?
Well, again, I mean, it depends on how the overall budget performs from that end of things. If at the end, our revenues outpace our expenses, when the budget is said and done, June 30th of next year, that money would go into reserves.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions with regards to the operational piece of the budget? I think you're next.
All right. So before we get into staffing, we have Sean McGrath is here and we want to honor him. Come on in, Sean. So I said it before, but I'm going to say it again. I'll give you this first.
Congratulations.
Great job. Great job. There you go. Sure.
So Sean became in basketball the Erie County Interscholastic Conference Division II Player of the Year and was named to the first team All ECIC team. So Sean, congratulations, great job. And the basketball team had a great year this year. And obviously you're a giant part of that. So way to go. We're real proud of you. Good job. I think you should. So I'm gonna come around and get a picture.
Get a picture with you.
We're gonna still get a picture with you, so.
You missed the group photo
Yeah.
before.
But that's all right.
I can't be the next to the tall guy.
Thanks.
Somebody taller than me in front though. Brian, you're over here.
One more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I apologize for talking to you. Well, she was standing there. Listen, I'd gladly be hooked. Take the hook.
Okay. So I'll get into this. I just, wanted to say a few things before we start, and, there's been kind of, I just want to, I hope clarify or, even enlighten people with budgeting and processes and, projecting budgets year over year is a difficult game. You never know how the economy is going to go, how, state aid is going to function, where your tax cap is going to be, which, really puts handcuffs on districts to raise funds, sometimes, how your expenses are going to be, where salaries are going to fall, et cetera, et cetera. There's 100,000 pieces that go into, building a budget. And, when I came into the district 5 years ago, I tried to study it and and where we are as a district and where we were position wise, knowing that we were still in COVID, that COVID money was flowing into districts, but there was going to be a cap on that and an end to that. We also realized that our expenses were growing, and I appreciate the collaboration, especially with the Teachers Association. When we went to contract talks, I think we all realized that our teachers were about 60% of them at that time were at top step or above, and that number was going to grow. And so as I see salary lines increasing, and potential impacts on the economy, and potential impacts on state aid, along with the depletion of all those COVID funds, because you had to spend them by a certain time, it made me very nervous. And, Mr. Feldman and I have had probably 1,000 conversations about the overall financial health and picture of the district. And 3 years ago, when we sat down with the teachers to develop a contract, I think it was important that we did one thing to try and address some of our expenditures, and that was to beef up our retirement incentive for teachers that reached the first eligibility status in the New York State retirement system. Both the district and Shea recognized that we added 54 positions as well during that time of COVID, so we could open our building. And I think, you know, opening the building was certainly important for this community, and getting our kids back in position, but it took an army to do that. And it was important to the board at that time that those positions not be funded with COVID money, but be funded through the general budget so we could keep those positions. And this all happened before we experienced an enrollment increase. I think in addition, both sides recognizing that the 60% of our teachers were at top step or were above. And while we can never replace the experience of a veteran teacher, we saw that there was a financial uncertainty ahead of us. And if our salary lines didn't flatten, we would experience a crisis, especially if the economy declined and there was a reduction in state aid. So, you know, COVID money is going to run out. It had to be spent by a certain time, and any money related to those salaries for the 54 new positions had to be rolled into the general fund. The needs of our students during that time changed dramatically. I don't think there's any question about it, not just at Sweet Home, but across districts in New York State. In my superintendent meetings, at state conferences you go to, we all had to address the social and emotional needs of our students with additional resources. We knew that we had to allocate those resources to social and emotional supports, or many of our students would not be able to have basic function in a classroom. Our teachers took on a lot when our students came back full-time from COVID. And so all of those factors really put us into an alarm situation. And I think the retirement incentive that we worked on with Shea and the district was essential in helping us retain those new employees and making staffing shifts in order to address the social and emotional needs of our students. Without that retirement incentive, we had 45 members of the unit take advantage of that retirement incentive in the past 3 years. That saves us about $3 million a year. And it's really helping us. Even then, we still are faced with a budget gap this year. We were faced with one last year. Those salaries have actually allowed us to increase the number of faculty here at Sweet Home over the past 3 years. That goes back to that enrollment increase I was telling you about. For every retirement we received where enrollment may be below our threshold, we can allocate that resource to an area of higher need, hire 2 teachers to fill those needs as well. Since I've been in the district, we've added UPK programming, special education teachers, ENL teachers, special ed related service providers in speech and OT. We've added social workers as well to all of our buildings, and we're looking to add one here now at the high school. We also realized that during this time, because of some of the consolidations we've had to do to close budget gaps, that's increased class sizes, and no one's arguing that. Particularly at the elementary level, they've gone up. Now, I still think these class sizes are at a little or slightly above or a little slightly below the thresholds that we have set. But these retirements have allowed us to consolidate classrooms and shift teachers to open positions of higher needs in the district and retain their positions. I would say now, though, after these recommendations from last week, especially at the elementary level, that we are at slightly above or slightly below target ranges for class sizes at every grade level in every section in our elementary buildings. I realize that raising class sizes is never easy, and we've asked a lot of our teachers during this time. We've asked them to do more, there's no question, especially when it comes to the changing needs of our students after the COVID crisis. They've taken on this challenge, and I'm proud of the work that they've done and grateful of the work that they've done. And they have more than succeeded and exceeded our expectations nearly across the board. They've managed social and emotional development of kids, a more transient population than ever. We have changes in enrollment each and every day here at Sweet Home. They've seen increased behavioral needs, and they still are having success at raising achievement levels on local and state assessments. For all of that, I'm extremely grateful, and I'm a proud administrator here, but also a proud Sweet Home parent who has kids that are thriving here because of the care that they receive, which is not unique to my kids. This is happening to every kid here at Sweet Home. We've now come to the point with these recommendations tonight that our elementary class sizes, and I'll say at the middle school and Heritage Heights as well, unless a large or unexpected drop in enrollment happens, we have no more room for consolidation. If enrollment trends increase as expected, we have to start adding sections at grade levels in our elementary buildings. Low state aid numbers, the tax cap, soaring and mandated costs, and special education, utilities, transportation, and healthcare have put us in a position where our expenses are outpacing our revenues. Our spending must be tight moving forward. Our creativity in allocating resources must be high, and we must use data and input from key stakeholders to make tough decisions moving forward so we have the financial tools needed to meet our mission and vision as a district. I say all this knowing that we are faced with a budget deficit now, and the business office, our building administrators have done incredible work. Our district office administrators have done incredible work to balance this budget and try and keep class sizes at manageable levels. If we could, we would keep class sizes under these thresholds, and I know the district office and the board would support that. Retirements have given us an opportunity to address high needs without laying off staff, an important goal for us all. Rhetoric at the federal and state level have us all worried for our future, as our aid must support rising costs and inflationary realities. We are in this together, and I promise, and I know I can speak for the board, district office, and our administrative team, that we will continue to fight for every dollar so we can achieve our mission and vision together as a district. So tonight, I just wanted to briefly go over some of the things that we talked about last week. I think we, like I said before, we continue to see increased levels of transiency in our district. And while we're asking the board to vote on a number, we can make shifts even after that vote it happens tonight to address high need areas, especially if we see enrollment increases over the summer or enrollment increases in sections at the elementary level, middle school or high school over the summer, which is a very, very busy time for central registration. It's hard to predict what we get over the summer. It's been fluid, but we have to be ready to pivot if that need arises. It can and probably will change as we see the ebb and flow of enrollment through the summer. If we need, I want to caution though, if we need to add resources in one area, we have to make shifts in resources from another area to stay within our total budget. The number is the number, and we are going to stay within that number. It is important for us not to dip in reserves, as we have done that over the past 3-4 school years since I've been here, to address rising costs in transportation and special education in particular. By the start of August, if we notice an area of high need, we'll have to pivot quickly and address that need. So we might be hiring over the summer. We might be making shifts over the summer, but I guarantee you we will be monitoring the numbers in order to address the needs of our students the best we possibly can with the resources we have available. Just last week, I presented this chart to you on class sizes at the elementary level, and you can see in red and green where we've already had changes in 1 week. Talking about the transient nature of our district. Once a student registers here, they are a Panther and they get all of the resources that are available to them to try and make them successful here at Sweet Home. But we just have had changes in just this week alone in class size numbers based on enrollment changes at the elementary level. In total, our recommendations in summary, really, with the addition of 2 special education teachers, as we discussed last week, a psychologist and a speech therapist to support those new exceptional classrooms at the kindergarten, 1st grade level, and the replacement shifts, transfers of retirements, the total number of faculty reductions went from 2.2 last week to 1.6, and I'll explain that in a minute, how we made those changes. Our recommendation to consolidate 4 sections at the elementary level, 2 at Glendale, 1 at Maplemere, and 1 at Willow Ridge remains firm for now, based on our class sizes. The 1.6 reduction of faculty positions comes from the high school, and those are from retirements. They are not layoffs. And we're amending our recommendation related to the high school art position. Instead of a 1.0 reduction, I want to say we worked with our high school art department this week to make it a 0.6 reduction. And that is going to allow us to run the full slate of classes in the department, including adaptive art. Through some shifts, and I will tell you what those shifts are. We will still offer 8 sections of studio and art at 23 students per section. We'll still run intro to drawing and painting at 2 sections, 25 students a section. Art skills has 14 students. We'll run that 1 section. AP art has 7 students, and we're going to run that section. Graphic design, 2 sections of 36 students divided by 2. 3D mixed media has 32 students. That is going to be a larger class at 32 students. Photography, we are reducing 1 section. We will have 2 sections with 60 students, and we will make sure that the equipment's there needed to run those sections. We are going to rotate advanced painting and advanced drawing, and that rotation on a yearly basis will not only give students the chance to take both of those classes, they just can't take them at the same time, but it also boosted enrollment of those classes. There will be 14 students and taking advanced painting with 2 potential ads and 4 students in advanced drawing right now with 6 potential ads, but we're going to run one or other this year and make sure that our enrollment is boosted through there. So I'm happy to say we will also adaptive art, which I know has been talked about as being removed, is not being removed. Our students in our 811s, our special education self-contained classrooms here at the high school benefit greatly from that course. I would have personally made sure that that course never, ever gets eliminated. So I'm happy to report that we will be offering the full slate of classes for our students in art. And I want to thank the art teachers. I want to thank Mr. Critelli and Mr. Lucenti for all of us putting our heads together to try and work on a solution to art. Now, with that said, I'm going to go back to what I said before. These things change, enrollment changes. If there's a need to add, we will add. But right now, we feel very confident in this recommendation of a 0.4. And we will move forward with that recommendation and pivot if it is necessary moving forward.
Thank you for doing that.
Yes, I thank the team tremendously because they wanted to make it work and they did. And for that, I am super grateful. So in total with addition, I said this already, I'm going to go back to that. So we'll continue to use attrition through retirement as a strategy to close budget gaps. We just have to. That is a much better way to do it than laying off people. And that's the last thing I think anybody wants to do in our district. The strategy helps us close budget gaps, and we're going to continue with this strategy moving forward as long as we can continue to use it to close gaps. We now believe that in the future years, I said it before, I'm going to say it again, if elementary enrollment trends continue the way they've been doing, there are no more sections to consolidate, and we're going to have to figure that out. We're going to have to add sections. We'll look always to staffing at every year, even if we were in a great financial position, to make shifts to areas of need. For this year will have to be a shift in resources and not an addition to resources. I said this last week, we're going to examine teacher aides. We have a ton of turnover in teacher aides every year. We'll make sure students with IEP or mandated services have their aide. That's of course mandated and must happen. We'll use the summer to closely monitor where we are with teacher aides. And we'll look to reduce 5 to possibly 8 teacher aide positions in the over 110 that we have in the district. And then finally, I'll say it again, we have to be cognizant of the future. Threats to budget cuts, I mean, you hear it all the time in the news. The Department of Education has been disbanded. At the federal level, that's put our nearly $5-6 million in aid at the federal level in jeopardy. That makes me stay up late at night, and I think that Same thing for Mr. Feldman. Don't want to speak for him, but that keeps many sleepless nights, and we're monitoring that closely. We're also hoping that the governor starts to realize that 1% increases in state aid are just not good enough. With rising inflation, rising costs all across our budget lines, the aid is not keeping up with our expenses, and the tax cap is not helping us get any relief either. So we're going to continue to monitor it. Attrition will be our strategy until we can't do it anymore. But hopefully, these fears of more cuts coming do not materialize.
Dr. Nestri, if I might, just for the good of the board, you talk a little bit about inflation, the inflation factor that is used to figure out the tax cap, which is the amount of levy that we're allowed to raise year over year, was 2.63% set by the state, 2.63%. So just to further cement your point, 1.5% in an foundation aid increase doesn't even keep up with their cost of living CPI adjustments used to mandate for the tax cap. So the system is antiquated. The Rockefeller Institute, we went through a study that cost $2 million. They made recommendations, and none of which were honestly really implemented from that end. And it, again, it just makes things difficult in planning when we don't know where we are from a major revenue source for 7 years in a row.
I want to thank the teachers at the high school, the departments that I've been talking to. I want to thank the teachers at the middle school. I'm getting to more and more team meetings as well. Had a great meeting with our elementary reps this morning as well. We're going to continue that dialogue and work on this together, realizing that, and I want to say this as well, Sweet Home is not alone in this. Many of my colleagues across districts in Western New York and across the state are very nervous about where we are headed with education funding. I'm sure you will hear in the news other districts that are closing budget gaps. I know you will, including our neighbors who are struggling to do this work and make sure that the needs of our students are met. So we're in a difficult situation. We are not alone in that situation. We have to continue our advocacy. I've been trying to meet with every legislator under the sun to get them to understand the position that school districts are in. And we're fighting for every dollar that we can get. Don's office, Dr. Wilson's office, we're looking at every grant that we could possibly tap into. Every funding source that's available to us. We will not stop that fight and that hunt to make sure that we can give our students a phenomenal education here at Sweet Home. So I know, I wanted to also, summer school is impacted with this recommendation. There is no pivot here. I'm just going to blatantly put that out there, that if the board approves this budget tonight, we're going to move forward with this summer school proposal. It saved us $300,000 and helped close the budgetary gap that we have experienced. Like I said last week, we would offer reduced enrichment for middle school at 3 weeks, 4 days a week for 3 hours. Each core would get a section, including Spanish. Exam prep at the high school, 1 to 2 weeks, depending on how a student scored on that in differentiated fashion. And then one thing that will not change, we will still offer a full ESY, extended school year program for our special education students. Graduating seniors would attend a credit exam recovery program at BOCES. I believe that's an online program that Dr. Wilson's been working with BOCES. We do get aid back on that program, and that meets state regulations for credit recovery. Approximately, we have about 10 students a year at the senior level that need credit recovery. And so we are going to purchase 10 seats to make that happen. And we are cutting elementary intervention, general education summer program this year with the hopes that the budget, picture increases and looks better, that we can bring enrichment back to the elementary level. So we believe one administrator can support the middle school, high school, and secondary ESY all at one location at the high school. Altogether, it's a 5-week program with no overlap of middle school and high school, so teachers can teach across programs if needed from July 13th to August 19th, and that would be the schedule that you see. That is my update for tonight. Well, the staffing update anyway. See if anybody had any questions.
Go first. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, I just want to say, I'm as a business owner, in the private sector, if you had a $2 million gap, to be able to close that gap without any layoffs, that's an extraordinary accomplishment. And I just think that that does need to be recognized and understood, by the public, that this is very unusual. And it is and I appreciate the art department and the district office and the principals, getting together. We talk about the 7 habits, and one of those is win-win. And so it's nice to see that, we're not only talking about this to our students, but the adults are actually working on these pieces. And then the other piece, 2 other points I want to make is, one is I think back at my experience in school, and I will tell you that what sticks with me is athletics, it's music, and it's art. The other classes, math, science, history, I had, there's no doubt those are important, but I had them, and our students had them throughout, from kindergarten all the way through. And I just think as a board and within the decisions that are being made, it's important when we talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, that's a piece, and I know it is, and I, again, appreciate the creativity here, because we talk about creativity. Well, again, as a business owner, I can tell you, I use more of the creative part of me than the numbers part of me, even though I'm a numbers guy. So I think that we just have to continue to work, and I know we will, towards, making sure that those classes, that we do everything we can to make those classes available, because that creative element, it's not just about, in my view, having a student learn art. It's another part of their way of thinking that I think does translate, when we talk about the portrait of a graduate and, and those offerings, like, again, I'm not trying to pick on history or math, but there's so much through a student's career. What's that?
Is there something wrong with social studies?
No, I'm just saying that they're important, but whereas the other pieces, it's more limited, at least it feels like. So I just want to make sure, and I'm again appreciative. I mean, you hear yourself made the comment of how you had to be creative. So I think those creative pieces, there's more utility than just it's not just about drawing and that piece. There's the elements of learning that I think our students are gaining from that. So, that's just, I think important that we recognize that. And the other question I had is, we have a point, I think it's 0.4, you said we're adding?
Yep.
So are we hiring somebody part-time? And are we, if we don't find someone, what I've thought about and wondered about is, we have teachers who coach and they get a stipend for that. Could we is there a possibility of having a teacher who's willing to take on an extra class but get paid extra? I mean, I would think if we did it by seniority, it would help you boost your final average salary. It would be, not volunteer in the sense that they'd be paid, but, an option. I just want to understand, is that, and what are there any things that would prevent us from doing that?
No. So first, just a comment about the first section, if you don't mind. I don't want anybody to think that we don't value art or the art program. Developing creativity, is an essential part to success. I mean, there's no question about it. And we are super proud of our art program. It's award-winning. It is phenomenal. The space that we have at the high school is second to none. Anybody who has ever walked through that space the first time is absolutely blown away by the work that is in that hallway and in the art rooms itself. Our teachers are fantastic in the art department, and we need to continue to look at ways that we can support the program. Like we've done when we've had enrollment increases or class size increases at the middle school. Last year, the board added a art teacher at the middle school because those numbers started creeping up to a point where one teacher, it was not enough for those high numbers there. So the board has been very supportive of the arts, of music, and that is going to continue. And if we continue or to see enrollment increases and class size increases, we will address that with additional staff or additional resources at the art level, or any department here will figure it out. There's always a solution. The solution may not be, the easiest thing to do is say, let's add staff, but that might not be the solution, and we got to put our heads together. And if we've exhausted all other things, then yes, let's move forward with a staff member. So I just, wanted to say that because I appreciate what you said, Mr. Leibel. At point 4, we're going to try and find a point 4. It might be difficult to find a part-time teacher. One thing I will say about Sweet Home is that it is a very attractive place to work. And Dr. Shaibi's not here tonight, but I think she would agree. I went to teacher recruitment day in Niagara Falls 2 weeks ago, and the line at the Sweet Home table was longer than any other of the 100 districts that were in attendance that day. And we're really proud of the fact of that we attract top talent here. And we're hopeful that somebody sees the point 4 as an opportunity to get a foot in the door at Sweet Home. And then if the middle school numbers continue to push up to the high school, I'm pretty confident in saying that we can make that point 4 or 1.0 eventually, maybe in the next couple of years. Because middle school art is bursting still, even with the new teacher that we added. So we're proud of that, and we're going to continue to add those resources. If we do not find a point 4, the contract, the teacher's contract does allow for an emergency provision called the 6th assignment, where teachers would where a teacher who wants to take on a 6th assignment could get a stipend to do that. And so we've had discussions with the art department. There seems to be some room on that. I don't want to say yes or no, but I think what I really love about our art teachers is that they're willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that these courses are offered. And to that, I say thank you. So there is a provision for us to have that.
Do you have something?
You want to do your thing?
I got a list, man.
You got a list.
Go,
Oh,
go.
okay, I'll just do a short one here. Again, I'm going to grumble about a subject from the past here, the electric bus and the electrification thing. I think that's also what's holding up the budget in Albany. I'm really disappointed in the attitude of the Assembly and the Senate, that they put this notion that we have to do this now over the needs of not only schools, but it's Medicare, Medicaid, and every other thing that's in that budget. And it's really disappointing. So I'm also very happy to see a bunch of folks come forward and voice their opinion about what they want out of the school district. That's very important to this board. And we are working very hard, and staff, administration, and the board have worked very hard to make sure that all opportunities are still available for the students. That's most important to us. But again, please voice your opinion, not only on this local level, but when it comes time to vote in November. And again, your vote really does matter. We appreciate that.
Mr. Ravenel, I would just address that the electric bus thing. The clean energy piece of it, I don't disagree with you, is part of the holdup on the budget, not necessarily specific to maybe electric buses, but more so new home construction and renewable energy in new homes. So I think that is very much a sticking point. So your point is very well taken.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll jump in. I had a number of questions, several of which you already answered, which I was very appreciative of. The adaptive art in particular, I know everybody on this board
Yeah.
was strongly in support of adaptive art, and I'm sure there was no chance that was ever going anywhere. And you already mentioned we're going to get some more cameras to make sure that the photography classroom can come up in size. And I know there was a lot of other discussions, and some of it came from some emails that came in from you, and that, we funneled those information to the administration so they can also talk it as part of their negotiations and stuff working with it. Another question I had, I know we brought a new teacher into the middle school last year. I don't know the schedule because we haven't asked about it too recently. If need be, is it possible that that teacher could be here for a class or two? I know we've had teachers before that come back and forth. Perfect example, Dan Murphy, because he helped us wind down German, was going back and forth between the middle school and high school every day for a handful of years. I know we have teachers now going between Reading Academy and the school every day. So I mean, to me, that's another possibility if need be.
Yes.
I think, we just have to get out of the box and think of all the possibility of
Yep.
things. One of them, everybody on this board table I know knows the answer to this, but we did get it in an email and I want you to be able to answer the question for them. We were asked if money could be moved from the capital project that we're getting ready to start to be able to handle staffing or other needs in that part.
Yeah.
We know the answer, but I want you to be able to say it.
So the capital project is a completely separate budget function, entity, even voting mechanism than our general budget. Those two things have nothing to do with one another. And so when our taxpayers and community members voted in favor of passing the capital project back in December, they voted on a completely separate entity from the general budget. And so school finance and capital projects are very complicated entities in themselves. And we often get that question, why don't we borrow from here to take here? Legally, we can't. The taxpayers of Sweet Home said, you got to use that money for what you told us you were going to do in terms of capital improvements. And I will say in that capital project, our community demanded through surveys, through board interactions, through thought exchanges, and through focus group work that we address the spaces, especially at the elementary level, which we're bursting at the seams. So we keep those two pieces separate by law and because that's what the voters told us to do.
Thank you. And I appreciate you explaining that. I also want to add in there too, because if people look when Mr. Feldman presents in 2 weeks, our 3-part budget, which also have to go out to the taxpayer in a postcard, as I remember, one of those pieces is capital.
Yes.
And that what's in that capital is not the upcoming capital project. It's the payments for the last capital projects we've worked on. All of those projects are bonded out typically 15 years, am I right?
Yep.
Typically, yeah.
Yep.
So we're paying for them over 15 years and winding them down and before we get started on the next one. So that's what that is when you see that on the budget. Thank you.
I've got questions, but, did you want to go? Because
I just have a quick thing to say. Like I said at the beginning, we really appreciate, we've heard from staff, we've heard from parents, we've heard from students. It's been great getting all that information from you and what your thought is. But you know what? We start this process in January. And you know how many people we usually see at our budget meetings? Maybe once in a while, one person. Jonathan, okay, yes. So come in January, see, this will really make it clear to you where your money's going. It's a really good educational process. Be involved in the process from the beginning. And like I said, we start in January. So you're all more than welcome to come and join us. I know it's a Saturday and sometimes, do we have food? No. But you're all welcome to come and understand the process. Thank you.
I will just echo, not about food, but just there is a Christine Lyle, who's our PR coordinator in back there, has created a great page on our district website that kind of breaks down kind of our process and each of the budget study sessions, so you can see how we progress through the process, if that's a tool that you might find helpful. But again, we do start internally in January, and our first budgetary session with the board and public is generally the first February, Saturday in February, because by that time we do get the executive proposal from the governor, which kind of frames our discussion.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to talk fast because I want to catch second period. We're still scoreless, by the way. In case anybody was wondering, I got it on the bottom here. So I want to understand summer school a little bit better. The question that I had generated earlier this week regarding summer school is what happens for the students that need full credit recovery? So this could mean either
Yep.
students who potentially pass the exam but do not have the seat time to pass a required course, or students that have neither requirement met. So like if a student fails algebra, they fail the Algebra 1 course, how do they make up those credits if they're in like freshman year? So not our seniors that are doing credit recovery,
Right.
but everybody else
They would have to make it up the next year.
take the course.
They, not necessarily, it could be some kind of credit recovery, it could be through AIS.
Okay.
It's in conjunction with the teacher and how they want to assign credit as well to that student. So maybe they missed by a couple points and there's an assignment that they want to make up, they can make it up the next year. Seat time is a whole different
Yes.
thing. They have to make up the seat time because there are requirements for that as well.
For attendance.
And so it's dependent on the situation, but we're confident we can do that by rolling it into the next year through several methods. And I don't know, Dr. Wilson, if you want to comment on that as well, because I know you've been working with Mr. Lucenti.
Sure. So the high school also has a number of opportunities built into their schedule. So based on the need, you will see that there are pivots that are made depending on how students perform either in June or at the end of August. And so like, for example, this past year, we added a couple of recovery sessions in math and biology for students who needed that coming out of summer school. And they also have things like something they call Math X, where they have built in extra time to help kids through either AIS or to begin to recover. We also have the Academic Learning Center, that AAC, which is another opportunity. And more they're identifying opportunities to provide that support built into the school day, because that really is the best option to really build it into the school day and still wrap around and get those other credits that they need.
And so my second summer school question, I think Mr. Coleman sort of started us on this path when he asked a question last week, specifically for our elementary kids who are not getting summer school opportunity this year. I think I heard you mention earlier that there was the potential for that next year, maybe coming back. Did I hear that
We will
correctly?
examine it next year, for sure. I think it's a good opportunity for students. Is it, I don't want to sound terrible, but is it mission critical? And that's where we kind of made that assessment. But if we can, I'm a big believer in summer enrichment. I'm a big believer that if you know, that there is learning loss over the summer, and if we can help in that way, we will. But you know, that was a significant savings that we could.
And I understand the savings aspect of it, but I think there are probably a lot of elementary teachers right now that are upset that this is not an opportunity that's being offered. So when you've got kids that are kind of on the cusp of breaking through to that success in reading and writing and math and those basic foundational skills, and these are young kids. So yes, it's important that we're offering credit recovery and Regents preparation and all the things to get our kids across that stage. But when we talk about where they're starting from in the elementary level, I think I need to understand a little bit better why it is that that was the thing to go.
Yeah, we haven't had great attendance, I would say. I mean, I think some would argue with me on that as well. So we're at about a 68 to 70% level of attendance, which is also something that is that we looked at.
I would think that was great, though. Like
that-
68% kids.
It's not great.
It's not great.
I don't think we're at over 90 throughout the school year.
But like how many kids are enrolled, like in the summer, for
100.
example? Like
100.
100, okay.
Yep,
I
across
see.
4 buildings,
Okay.
that we cap it at 100.
Great, okay, got it.
So to give you an example, if summer school runs for 24 days, of the 24 days, you miss 9 days, you're at 62%. So to give you some example of what Dr. Genestri is
Because
trying
it's
to.
short.
Yep.
We're looking at length, okay. Is this my last one? I think this is my last one. One thing that I did kind of want to request, and I think we emailed about this a little bit earlier this week. When I asked you last week, what does it mean to keep an eye on numbers, right? What does that actually look like in practice? And I think as we're trying to continue to build trust with our community and with our teachers, and we're trying to foster that transparency, is it possible within the superintendent's report for next year to just throw some data in there and show us where we are at as far as enrollment?
I do that usually in the fall, but I could do it a couple times a year to see where we're at, because it is rapidly changing. Even you saw today that it's not on a day-to-day basis. But yeah, I do usually do an enrollment, probably I think in October. I usually do a kind of a comprehensive where we are, but I will make sure that knowing what we went through in this process, that class sizes are a big piece of that, for
Okay.
sure.
All right, thank you. I got.
Just one last thing to say, just as we go,
Oh, go ahead.
okay, I'm
No,
sorry.
yo, I was
Yeah.
pointing at you.
Okay, just as we go through it, I know a couple of others have already mentioned it. We did get, and I tried to count, I got roughly 50 emails. I know some of the board got different numbers, but they're all roughly in that same ballpark. I am going to speak for the board because I know you read all of them. I read all of them at least twice, a number of them 3 times. A few of the people who responded that I directly knew and have had relationships for a long time, I did respond to them a little bit. I know otherwise they're all being responded to. If you don't hear from the whole board, it's because we are doing it. Our president is making sure that people let them know that we've done it. I do want you to know we did read them. We're taking your thoughts into consideration. We're sharing our concerns with the superintendent and the administration. We do hear you.
And I think if you sent an email today, I don't think I responded. So I apologize for that.
It was fair.
I have also received quite a few, and I'll be working on responses tomorrow as well. I've responded to a few, but I'll be working on that a lot.
I mean, since 4
Bear with
o'clock
me.
today, we got 3 more emails, so
Yeah.
it's not instant.
You had a question?
Yes, just for the art courses and specific, I know you said you were reducing 2 sections of photography to 1. So let's
Oh.
say,
3 to 2, I think.
oh,
Yep.
so if like a lot of the students essentially sign up, would that limit like the number of seating in the classes?
Well, signups are done, so we got a pretty good projection of where
okay.
we're at. So,
Okay.
yeah,
But that's where we're getting additional cameras to cover.
correct.
additional
Yeah, we'll cover
people in the
what
classes.
we need. Yeah.
We'll expand the number of seats available in the class. That was the limitation before. It was based on the number of cameras they had.
So for every kid that signed up for an art class for next year, they're okay.
Unless they came in late, I think some of them have closed. So, and I know I got a lot of requests just this week myself. So we may have a couple that are put on a waiting list, but those, I will say there's fluctuation throughout the year and they might get a chance to get on those. So.
Amy, did you have any questions?
No, I would just reiterate that the schedule itself is not built until over the summer. So there could be conflicts and changes in that
Yep.
aspect with an
also
individual student's schedule. So it's always fluid. It's hard to add a teacher in the middle of, a semester or a quarter or a trimester. But we do the best we can and we're constantly looking at it and we're constantly talking about it. And, like everybody on the board has said, we hear you, we see you, we know what you're going through. Most of us have had children, all of us have had children go through the district. So we understand. That's all I got.
Thank you. I had a list of questions. They were all answered, so I'm not going to reiterate the questions. So if you would like to continue.
All right. So two major announcements that are on the agenda tonight. First, we are very, very proud to bring Miss Marissa Doria's name to you as a recommendation as our new principal at the high school. She would be taking over for our interim principal, Mr. Lucenti, right now, who we knew was with us for a year, and we'll talk about him later. But we are very excited to recommend Marissa Doria as the next principal of Sweet Home High School. She has more than 15 years of experience in education, leadership, and student-centered programming. She's joined Sweet Home in July of 2019 as the Director of Athletics, Health, and Physical Education and Recreation. And she led the comprehensive K through 12 program, supported curriculum development, created meaningful opportunities for student engagement and school pride. In August 2022, she moved through a process to become the middle school principal, and she has been extremely successful building culture there and implementing initiatives that support student achievement and well-being. She brought Leader in Me and has really propelled it to the point where they are on the cusp of becoming Lighthouse and looking at how they go through that process. And I know Leadership Day is this week and Friday, and her leadership there has really strengthened the middle school into a strong community. Prior to a time at Sweet Home, she was in leadership roles at Mount St. Mary Academy, and she developed her expertise in instruction, support, and community building there. And I think Marissa has just done a phenomenal job as a leader, as someone who listens, cares for students, puts students first above all, but really has rallied the faculty and staff to support student success there. She went through a process at the high school where she did interview with a panel of teachers, administrators, support staff, and unanimously that panel of 10 wanted her to go on to the next level, to the superintendent round, and ultimately talk to the board about this position. So we are excited to promote from within to the principal ship at the high school, with no doubt knowing that this leaves a hole at the middle school. And I have a meeting, me and Dr. Shaibi have a meeting, I think last time I looked, it was Friday. I know we were moving it around a little bit. We've already had some work with the middle school building leadership team. We've had some work with some of the teams, bless you, and to talk about the transition and also a process for finding a new middle school principal. And we're going to really narrow that process this week with them because she is will be missed at the middle school for sure because she's left such an impact on them. So I'm very proud to recommend Marissa as our next high school principal and very excited for the future of that building and the things that she can bring. So she is on the agenda for that tonight. In addition, I'm also proud to recommend Lindsay Marcinelli as the new Director of Special Programs. She will be, if approved tonight, taking over for Katie Barilari, who was promoted to Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction to replace Dr. Wilson, who is retiring at the end of the year. Lindsay brings 2 decades of experience in special education and educational leadership to a role as the Director of Special Ed. She began her career as a school psychologist, developing strong foundations in student support, assessment, and individualized programming. She later served as an elementary principal, where she led the instructional improvement efforts, strengthened school culture, and elevated student achievement. Since joining Sweet Home as the Assistant Director of Special Programs, she has played a key role in ensuring compliance, supporting staff, overseeing the delivery of high-quality services for our students. They work their fingers to the bone in the special programs, and we're super proud of that department. And Lindsay is just a natural for promotion there. They've taken on increased numbers. They've taken on increased staff. The compliance issues associated with special education, they're just rock stars at it in that department. And so we're very happy to put Lindsay up for recommendation tonight to you. This would leave an opening as for the assistant director that we will fill. There's a lot of work that goes into that department. And so we will start a process on that tomorrow if she is approved this evening. And we have some work done in calendar, and we want to put a proposal not to be voted on tonight, but hopefully if we're in a good spot, we want to put a draft up on our website tomorrow. And I think we've worked, well, Mr. Feldman will talk about this, but I want to thank the work of the committee and some work with our Teachers Association to make this happen. So Mr. Feldman?
Sure. So I just would like to recognize, first of all, before we start, This calendar was challenging in an event, in the extent that Labor Day is the latest it possibly can be from a calendar perspective. So there's many mandates that we need to meet across the school calendar that we'll talk about. And I just want to thank the members of the committee. We spent the last couple of weeks kind of going through different iterations of the calendar to meet not only those requirements, but to honor things contractually for some of our labor teams. So we do get an excellent representation across the district of parents, members of our Teachers Association, members of our administrative team, members of our Service Employees Association. And then I had the pleasure to chair the committee along with Dr. Shaibi, our Director of Human Resources, to come to a calendar that we would like to recommend for the board. So there are a number of things that need to go into the considerations of the calendar. You see there, I won't touch on all of them. I just want to highlight some things. From New York State Education Department, there is a number of regulations that we must meet, both in terms of days to not negatively impact our aid payments. So kids need to be in instruction a minimum of 180 days every year. And then over the course of that 180 days, we do need to meet an actual hour requirement for the elementary level. It's 900 hours of instruction time. That is butts and seats in the classroom, that minutes for recess, minutes for lunch, minutes for homeroom, minutes for passing do not count towards that calculation. So we do need to have 900 hours of butts and seats in instruction at the elementary level to meet that regulation. And then it's 990 hours at the secondary level, grades 7 through 12. We are not allowed to schedule any sort of instruction on the legal holidays listed below. We did catch a bit of a break this year in the Chinese Lunar New Year. That was a new holiday that was added to the calendar, I believe, last year. This year, it falls on a weekend, so it's one less day from an instructional standpoint that we need not worry about. We always do try and do our best to create a calendar that mirrors the BOCES calendar. We do have a number of students that attend BOCES programs off-site. And when our calendars don't mirror, it makes it difficult for those kids. They either miss the BOCES when we are in session and they are not, or vice versa from that end of things. So we try and get to a calendar that closely mirrors the BOCES calendar. We have to build in for emergency closures potential. We also take into consideration stakeholder feedback, which I'll talk about in a second. And then lastly, I want to talk about contractual language from that standpoint, particularly teacher contract language. In the current contract with the Education Association, there is a teacher day requirement of 187 days that we had to work through to get a calendar in place. That is an area that Dr. Genestri and the Shea leadership have kind of worked through. So we have we did present a calendar initially to the calendar committee of 187 days with a staff development day in one of the breaks, the February break, and specifically after some conversations after our initial meeting, the conversation was such that question about what that day would look like. So we brought that feedback back to the superintendent. The superintendent did have some conversations with Shea leadership, and we come to what we believe is an amicable solution in presenting the calendar kind of going forward. So for us for next year, the proposed dates that these are some of the highlights. We do have a virtual staff development day, which mirrored the one that we did this year to allow staff to do, God bless you, to do mandated trainings. That's Thursday, September the 3rd. So that is virtual, that is not in person. And that does count for us as a student attendance day in the eyes of state education. We can count 4 staff development days over the course of a calendar from the last week in August through rating day. towards student attendance. And that's important because we'll talk about another piece of it. So from a stakeholder feedback perspective, we heard this year that starting school on the Tuesday after Labor Day was difficult. It was difficult for teacher aides to kind of get the lay of the land, particular to their high needs students. It was difficult for bus drivers to learn the kids on the bus to jump into the runs without the opportunity for, potentially an additional dry run. So we worked very hard to get to a calendar where that first day, that Tuesday after Labor Day, which is September 8th, would be a traditional staff development day. So it would be an in-person staff development day. It would be an opening day. We would do, similar to what we've done in the past. The superintendent would provide his opening day address, and then teachers and staff would disperse to their buildings to get ready for students on the first day, which for us, if the calendar is approved, would be Wednesday, September the 9th. We do have a staff development day scheduled for Tuesday, November 3rd, which is Election Day. Thanksgiving recess would be the Thursday and Friday of Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving itself and the day after. We have a half day on December the 4th at the elementary level, which would be report card day. December 11th would be elementary parent-teacher conference days. And then we have winter recess December 24th through January the 1st. And then midwinter recess is February 15th through the 19th. You'll see again that we removed the February 16th initial date for staff development. And then we would do a staff development or a half day again at the elementary level on March the 5th. Spring recess would be March 26th through April 2nd. The elementary half days would be June 23rd through June 24th. And then June 25th is rating day, which is the Friday. And then teacher last day, which we are calling on the calendar staff development day, would be June 28th. That staff development day does not count towards student attendance in terms of state ed because it falls after rating day. So this calendar, Mike, if you would hit the next slide, I'm sorry, I'm running out of voice, would provide us with teacher workdays of 186 teacher workdays. So this just falls back on the conversations that Mike has had with the teacher union leadership. There is contractual language in the SHE contract right now. It's 4.11.4.1 that basically says if we have 3 emergency days left as of April 30th, I believe it is, that the Memorial Day holiday would be a day off. The Teachers Association and Dr. Genestri have had discussions where that they would agree to waive that for next year so that we would end at 186 work days. It's important to note that this year, unless we have a major snowfall event in the next week, that exactly that
It could happen.
we would that contractual language would be enacted and it wouldn't be the Friday of Memorial Day. It would be the Monday after rating day. That would no longer be a teacher a day. So we would get to 186 days this calendar year. And assuming that we are in a similar situation next, we would remain at 186 days. So we felt as though I
don't understand. So we're going to go 2 years in a row without meeting the contract?
well, we would meet the contract this year, but because
That's not what you just said.
I understand that. The 187 days would be in the contract per contract language if there are 3 or more remaining snow days on April 30th, that last day, the Memorial Day Friday, or in this instance, the Monday after rating day would no longer be a teacher day. So we build a calendar with 187 days. The language in the contract is such that if there are no snow days, it does go down to 186.
So they use one of the emergency closure days for either the Friday before Memorial Day or that Monday after.
This year.
So so it's scheduled, but it becomes an emergency closure day.
We're scheduled for 187 days. We built in 187 days. if we reach April 30th without taking one more emergency day, then it actually goes down to 186 workdays this year. That's the contract language. What we're saying is we'll remove that contract language. The Teachers Association has work to do on that if we're okay with that. And then we know that taking that Friday off Memorial Day is not an option next year because we're removing that language for 1 year and 1 year only. Am I saying that correctly?
So that day would become
That's a work day.
28th,
The Friday
rather
before.
than the Friday before Memorial.
There's no chance that the Friday before Memorial Day or June 28th
Okay.
will be a day off.
Correct.
Teachers will be in on that Friday before Memorial Day and on June 28th next year.
You're saying you just remove that option
We remove the
in order
option.
to ensure that you get those days in for
Correct.
next year.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because if you didn't do that, then legally, if we hit those days, if we didn't take those days, they could say, well,
We're
we're
off on
entitled
Friday.
to this day.
Yeah.
Now you're saying this is absolutely, but I guess the only question is what happens if we have the snow days?
Well, we would have to pivot. I'll let Dr. Janestri talk a little bit about
Yeah,
that.
we'll work with the Teachers Association on that pivot. And it could be an added day over a break, or it could be remote. Were the two options.
Was there any talk about starting before Labor Day?
There was, that did not gain traction, because it's been a longstanding, tradition and practice here. And so, I think that would have resulted in some, issues and trying to find a solution together, we decided to work or propose eliminating that clause of the contract for 1 year and 1 year only for the 26 and 27 school year. And probably the only time, we'll probably only have to do it every 7 years because the way that Labor Day just falls this year, it's the latest it possibly can be. And then the way the breaks fall, there's no room to take from any of the breaks without dipping into the Christmas holiday or Easter or the February break. So we just didn't have, with the new holidays, we just didn't have room basically to fit it all in.
So just to wrap up, just from a student attendance day per SED, at a secondary level, we would be at 185 days. At the elementary level, we'd be at 184. Again, superintendent conference days, staff development days would be September the 3rd, September the 8th, November the 3rd, all of which would count towards student attendance days. And then lastly, June 28th, which would be a day that would be labeled in name only as staff development and wouldn't count towards student attendance per SED regulation. So this is the calendar here. I would just draw to your attention, on March the 12th, it's hard to see, I get it. But the calendar on the left, March the 12th, for the Erie One BOCES contingent is a staff development day, while it is not a staff development day for us. So we will have to do some work with our BOCES kiddos that day at the secondary level and come up with a plan. But short of that, our calendar in terms of student days mirrors that of the Erie One BOCES calendar. So again, as Dr. Janestri had said, this is a draft of the calendar. The Teachers Association, following our meeting on yesterday, does have some work to do to potentially discuss the removal or the MOA to remove that Memorial Day Friday and or the last day, that last Monday. But as Dr. Janestri initially said, this is a calendar that we would like to, obviously post as a draft calendar pending discussion at the board level next month. So I don't know if anybody has any further questions regarding the calendar, but that's where we stand presently.
So we won't be voting on this tonight.
You will
We'll
not.
vote on it next month.
You will vote on it on May the 12th.
Thank you.
And that's what I have for tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Genestri. So moving on to upcoming events, we have a Willow Ridge Skating Party tomorrow, a multicultural night at Glendale, Maplemere Book Fair coming up, an art show, a STEM night at Heritage Heights, middle school spring activity night is Friday, and then our end of April, beginning of May PTA meetings, and then as said earlier, May 5th is our Meet the Candidate night and our, and May 19th is our budget night, budget vote, sorry. All right, that leads us to open session number 1, which is policy 1510. This open session is for topics related to tonight's agenda. Again, open session is a chance for speakers to share their thoughts with the board and for the board members to hear what they have to say. It is not an interactive process. Any questions should be addressed to the superintendent or the board president outside of the meeting. The board welcomes participation by district residents, persons having business within district boundaries, and persons who do business with the Board of Education. All participants must be 16 years of age or older. Speakers must be recognized by the presiding officer and announce their name, address, and group affiliation if appropriate. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes each and may not transfer their time to another participant. The board by resolution may vote to extend the time of the speaker. Those who signed up on the sign-in sheet will speak in order of their sign-up. Those not signed up will speak afterwards. However, the total amount of time for each public participation period is 30 minutes. Statements should be made to the board president, not individual board members. Participants may not discuss specific individuals or issues that fall under executive session. Participants must abide by the Board of Education policy and the district code of conduct. The board president has the right to maintain decorum by interrupting or terminating a visitor's comment, requesting an individual to leave, or calling for a recess or adjournment of the meeting. The first session, again, is for topics related to tonight's agenda. And please note that the board will listen to all public comments, but should not be expected to respond at this time. Okay, so I do have 6 speakers signed up. The first one is Sarah Mahaney. Is that correct? Okay. You're welcome.
Thank you all for taking the time to hear me out tonight. I'm Sarah. I graduated Sweet Home in 2020. My address is 35 Luzerne Road, Tonawanda, New York, 14150. A few days ago, my younger sister informed me that Sweet Home was planning to cut some of the advanced art classes due to budget restraints. I graduated from Sweet Home in 2020 to pursue my bachelor's in fine arts at the Rochester Institute of Technology. I took almost every advanced art class and really believe those classes got me to where I am today. I currently work as a cinematographer and lighting technician on films in Buffalo. I can't count the number of films I've worked on this past year and have been fortunate enough to work on movies produced by Warner Brothers and Netflix. 6 years ago today, I couldn't have dreamed that this would be my job, and it was at Sweet Home that I found the confidence to pursue my career as an artist. When I started high school, I was terrified of pursuing the arts with all the instability and competition that came with it. It wasn't until my junior year in Mrs. MP's AP art class that I finally began to believe I could make it as an artist. She instilled a deep sense of confidence in me and gave me the freedom to create anything I wanted. Her support was unwavering, from the range of supplies she'd order for her class to the thoughtful, constructive criticism she gave our projects. She'd show us striking pieces of work from contemporary artists and bring up artists she knew personally that worked independently in Buffalo. My dreams finally began to feel more thrilling than terrifying. While building my AP portfolio, I felt like I was finally making art that was personal and impactful. I learned about who I was, what I loved, my fears, and the person I wanted to become. It drove me to want to keep creating meaningful work. I saw a future that was bigger than the person I was. After taking AP Drawing and Painting my junior year, I took AP Photo and Sculpture my senior year. I wanted to go to RIT because it had a great film program, one that was practical, hands-on, and cinematography focused. But since it's a private school, it was extremely expensive. To consider going, I needed a lot of scholarships. Almost all the pieces included in my portfolio, 18 to be exact, came from my advanced art classes. None of the pieces were something I scrounged up at the last minute. They showed skill, effort, and depth, skills that I'd had time to develop in my advanced classes. Not only did I receive a large scholarship from RIT, but Miss MP also helped me get scholarships locally. Attending my dream school finally became a reality. I love my job. I often imagine working in a different field and don't think I'd be nearly as happy. I get to shape scenes, people, and locations with light. I am a piece in the puzzle that makes films beautiful. I'm constantly surrounded by other creatives whose passion for what they make is infectious. I can confidently say that I am a product of the Sweet Home Art Department and an example of the success it curates. It gave me the space to become the artist I am today. I strongly advise you to reconsider your decision to cut some of the advanced art classes and give future generations the opportunities I had. Please be a part of the reason students can become the greatest version of themselves. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I'm going to do the best I can on names. Christine Kempf, is that right? You are next.
Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. My name is Minna Christine Kempf. My address is 35 Luzerne Road, Tonawanda, 14150. I am an artist. I am an art teacher in another district, and I am the proud parent of 3 girls, Sarah, who just spoke, Amina, who's there, Dania could not be here tonight, and the aunt of 2 children, Noah, and his sister Nina, all who have benefited from Sweet Home's very rigorous art program. I did not plan to speak tonight. Public speaking is my biggest nightmare. My language is images, and my children's languages are images, and art is so important to us. But I finally found it in myself to come here and speak because Amina, who is very much like me, an introvert, very creative, very quiet, has been pushing ever since she found out the possibility of the programs being cut. She has done nothing but push friends, family members, teachers to just really try and get the word out that this is such an important program for her. She has willingly dedicated her free time on numerous occasions to work on her art projects. She's given up study halls. She has given up lunchtime. She stays after school. She goes in during exam week and midterm week when she doesn't have to be at school to work on art. It is her passion, and she hopes to make it her future. And I just want to make sure that we remember students like Amina. There's a lot of them. And not only people like Amina, but students that just need that safe space to express who they are. I appreciate that Mr. Genestri and the administration is working with the art teachers to try and make it work. I understand budgets are a nightmare that I'm so glad I don't have to be part of my world generally. I have big concerns with a 0.4 art teacher. I think that's going to be very hard to find a quality art teacher that is 0.4. I love the idea of somebody traveling between middle school and high school. Please consider that. I also have big concerns when I heard Mrs. MP is taking 32 students in her mixed media class. That is a huge number for any class. In a class where you're dealing with clay, oh my goodness. If she does that, God bless you. I just wanted to make sure Amina's voice is heard, and I'm speaking on behalf of her, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Taylor Heald, very nice jacket.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm sure that you guys hear a lot of similar stories. I graduated from Sweet Home in 2009, and I went to Damon College for art. And now I own an art gallery and tattoo studio that's down in the city, which we were voted best art gallery in the city through Buffalo Spree, as well as some other community members that are here that I don't believe are speaking, but like Christine Buscarino, who also won Best Arts Administrator. I think that it's just kind of proof of what our art department has been able to accomplish. And I say ours because I donate also and, whatever. But I did want to talk about a couple logistical things because it was brought up that you guys are keeping all of the courses, which I really am encouraged to hear. And a couple things were that with the alternating of the advanced drawing and painting, I think that that's a great way to compromise, but something that I might bring to attention is potentially dropping back one of the sections of the studio art, because that's a class where they're able to make up throughout the 4 years of their time at Sweet Home, where the advanced drawing and painting are always towards the end of their time at Sweet Home. And going into college, you really need those courses, and especially if you have some students that are, trying to get those in towards the end, and then next year it's not offered. If they need that to be able to boost their portfolio, so it might be something worth looking at to drop one of those earlier requirements so that then they can make it up, because they can make it up in multiple classes as well. Can make it up through graphic design or photography, or some of the ones that don't have a prerequisite. That might be a good point to look at. And also with the hiring of a .4 teacher, obviously it'll be difficult, especially where some of those classes that'll be strained are some of the higher level classes, and making sure that a teacher is of proper skill. I mean, the teacher that we're losing is a 30+ year teacher from the district. And, obviously from a budget standpoint, going down to a new teacher will probably alleviate some of that stress as well, budget wise.
Would you like a part-time job?
Yeah.
.4 job.
Yeah, I've thought about it, but I don't know if I can handle it right now with what's on my plate. But yeah, I just wanted to stress like how much this department has done, and I really applaud all of you guys for making sure specifically, the adaptive art program is staying. Like that was a big one. I came and volunteered at that when I was doing my student teaching for Damon, and that class specifically, obviously you guys know because you're keeping it there. But yeah, those are just maybe some things to think about. You can alleviate some of the lower level classes or sections that they can still make up later in the year to be able to keep drawing and painting, because otherwise, like the previous speakers had said, getting those portfolio pieces, you're ready for college. It's already a hard task, and a lot of students don't even get accepted. So making sure that those are present, I think are a really good point. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
For your suggestion.
Taylor, what's the name of your business? Crucible? Crucible Art? Okay.
It's a great place. I've been there a few times.
Gonna
I
say.
appreciate,
plug.
I want to just say, I appreciate that you're opening it up for Sweet Home to do art exhibits there too for me, Chief.
Next up is Christy May.
Good evening. I want to start by saying I appreciate the opportunity to speak in front of you all today. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Christy May, and I am a Sweet Home alumni, a graduate in 2017, and I'm also the current assistant coach for the Sweet Home girls tennis team. I want to give a bit of my background about myself when I attended Sweet Home. I pretty much lived in the Sweet Home art rooms for most of my high school years. I've had the privilege to have taken every single art class that was offered during my time. I have had the honor of being selected to paint in the art wing here, where my painting still stands almost 10 years later. With the help and support of Kristen Purek, Kate Van, and Dominic Mediak Parigi, I was able to study animation and illustration at SUNY Fredonia. The art department was a strong foundation for my love of art, as well as the foundation of my growth as an individual and finding myself identity. My journey from taking advanced art classes in high school set me up for success in college. I then graduated in 2021, where I am now a 3D artist as a hobbyist and also in my career. I believe from firsthand experience, Sweet Home's art program holds a great importance in young adults. Through artist expression, young adults explore more concepts and discover more about themselves and the world through a multitude of mediums. I want to express these diverse skills and mediums in young art programs are carried into many jobs you see today, especially the students who become out-of-the-box thinkers, much like myself. Students who go on to continue and fuel their artistic skill sets will prosper, whether it's strengthening the culture and history of their communities, being advocates through continuous art programs, advertising with local businesses, or possibly designing the future of innovation. Many of my fellow alumni could not be here tonight, but I would like to relay their messages spread across social media the past few days. And they all come to the same similar conclusion that we strongly encourage you to keep these advanced classes and retain the programs for future years to come. Although I have no resolve for the budget, I am here tonight to advocate for the next generation of students and the experiences that could be robbed from them. Please keep these classes and to allow students to enrich their skills, hone their craft, or even just keep the outlet available for students to feel safe, seen, and heard. Thank you for your time.
Next I have Mary Noacine, is that correct? Noacine, okay, thank you. Sorry, I apologize.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for allowing me the time and space to speak tonight. My name is Mary Noacine. I live at 144 Lawnwood Drive. My sister's an art teacher. My mother was an art teacher. My mother-in-law was an art teacher. My nieces excel at art. My son and my daughter excel at art. I cannot draw a stick figure. I will tell you, though, I am a nurse. I work at Buffalo General Hospital. And when you talk about staffing, that's something that I talk about constantly. It is something that is so important across so many different avenues, whether it be our students or when we're patients in the hospital. I've heard a lot of talk about budget constraints. And I understand that pressure is real. I don't envy what you do. I appreciate what you do. I'm very grateful that I don't have to be involved in figuring that out. But as a parent with 2 children who are attendees of the school, a third who already graduated, what I can say is that in the past, I have voted on things in this district that I didn't fully understand at the time, and I probably still don't understand, and I regret that. I think a lot of us as busy parents and community members trust things will work out without digging into all the details. The reality is these decisions have real consequences for our kids. I understand the capital project funding gets talked about a lot, can't be used to support programs like the arts. It's restricted to the buildings. I believe the real budget strain from what I'm trying to pull together comes from state delays and unfunded mandates, especially in education. At the same time, there's real concerns about how resources are being used. We're hearing about significant spending tied to programs which serve small number of students at high cost. And we certainly, as parents, don't want to see any of these resources or programs funding taken away. It's a matter of figuring out where everything can be pulled together to meet everyone's needs, which I know has to be incredibly challenging. We're looking at advanced art classes being cut, which it sounds like has changed since I kind of wrote this little speech. So I am very happy to hear that. But what I'm hearing is that hiring a part-time or teachers taking on additional classes doesn't really solve the problem. And that reassigning a teacher to cover an art class might weaken other programs or even weaken the art program. From what I'm hearing, with the movement, I'm very happy to hear that it's a step in the right direction, but it doesn't sound like a long-term solution. So beyond tonight, what I'd like to say to other parents is that we need to pay closer attention. We need to understand what we're voting on, and we need to ask questions and stay involved. These are decisions that shape what our kids have access to every day in the schools. The Keep the Art petition that was started on Sunday evening has gathered strong community support with 380 signatures and still growing, calling for the continuation of this important program. This collective effort reflects how much students, families, and community members value access to advanced art education and the opportunity it provides. I'm making the commitment to get more involved and attend board meetings. I'm asking us all to stay engaged and work together to protect the future of our children. And although I'm not an artist, I do have a flair for the dramatic with our petition signatures. So I did email them to you, but I will also hand them to you.
All right. Happy to.
Thank you, Mary.
The last name I have on the list is Savannah Farr.
Good evening, Sweet Home Board of Education. I am Savannah Farr. I live on 78 Glenhaven Drive, Amherst, New York. Although I have not yet graduated Sweet Home, I am a senior and I do take APR. It has been a large impact on my life. In fact, I should probably be doing my art assignment for my portfolio right now. I'm almost there, I swear. Although I don't plan on studying art in college, I do plan on going to RIT for chemistry with a minor in marine biology. Art is, like everyone has said before me, very useful. It's in everyday life. It's seen in forms that you don't even think about. Whether you're just sitting there now listening to this, counting back on all of the times or whatever other time it's here, it'll always be here and it can always be used as a scapegoat, a job, and anything else. I have two younger brothers. One of them is in middle school and one of them is in fourth grade. Yeah, fourth grade. The fourth grader, he goes to Glendale and he loves watching me draw. He'll come into my room, he'll ask, and he has also hopes of, you know what, I'm gonna go to APR too. I'm gonna do what you're doing. I'm gonna do studio and art. I'm gonna do all of the art classes. I'm gonna do what you want to do. And in this room, how many of you have children currently or have children that are going through school? And how many of you have your children's paintings on your fridge, on your wall, or as pictures saved into your phones?
Yep.
A lot of us, almost all. My mom, she's definitely in there, on the fridge, upstairs, on the wall, in the kitchen, anywhere. A collage in her phone too. And so we can all agree that every kid has an artistic little piece in their heart, right? By diminishing AP art, advanced drawing, painting, those classes, that artistic piece in them can also be discouraged, can no longer have the spark that it once had by being urged to keep going and keep thriving under whatever conditions, even if you need to pay $99 for an art class. Crazy. But overall, the hope that these art classes will no longer be cut will still be there, even if they're in their small numbers. It is joyful and it brings a lot of hope to future generations, middle school, elementary, even pre-K, to keep pursuing art without being discouraged to the fact that our art classes are going to be gone. What about us? What about going to Art Forwards? Thank you for your time. I'm so happy to say and hear that our art classes are going to be continued.
Thank you, Savannah.
That is the extent of my list. We do have time for a few more speakers allotted. Is there anybody else who would like to speak during this first open session? We'll go here and then Jonathan. Nope, you go ahead.
right. Hello, everyone. My name is Kristen Purick, and I have been an art teacher at Sweet Home for the last 21 years. And first, I want to thank my students, parents, staff, and especially the alumni who took time to write or speak on behalf of our art department tonight, even in the middle of a playoff Sabres game. Your support and your stories that you've shared about how this program has impacted your lives mean more to us than you could possibly know. Like legit trying to hold tears out. I can't look at you guys. Over the course of my career, I have stood at this podium multiple times advocating for my department and urging that cuts not be made. I stand before you as a passionate teacher who has already experienced the impact of reductions firsthand, as our department has gone from 5 teachers to 4 and now potentially 3. However, I can say without hesitation that the reductions proposed originally and where we are right now, are some of the most drastic and devastating that I've seen in my entire time at Sweet Home. I'm here tonight to speak about the proposed reductions of our program through attrition and what that truly means for our students. On paper, this may look like a staffing adjustment, but in reality, it means a loss of advanced courses. It means students losing access to classes that they've already been planning to take. It means students who have spent years developing their skills will no longer have the opportunity to build the portfolios that they need for college art programs. Without these advanced courses, they are simply not competitive with students in neighboring districts who still offer them. It means our school losing its presence in regional art shows, spaces where our students have consistently represented Sweet Home with pride, talent, and professionalism. And my little plug, we just won Best Black and White Photography at the Keenan Show on Sunday. And then there's the reality of the schedule. We will now have students who will need somewhere else to go, but many electives are already full, so what happens? They end up in multiple study halls. That is not a meaningful use of the student's day. That is not maximizing learning, and that is not putting students first. At a time when the world is rapidly changing, when artificial intelligence is taking over routine tasks, we are actively reducing access to the very skills that will matter the most: creativity, critical thinking, problem solving, and innovation. These are not extra skills. These are essential skills. The arts are not a luxury class. They are the core part of a well-rounded education. They engage students who might otherwise feel disconnected. They give students a place to succeed, to express themselves, and to find purpose in their day. Just as importantly, they provide an outlet that supports mental health and emotional well-being. Many of my students have shared deeply personal struggles, and through art, they have found a way to process and express those emotions. I understand that difficult financial decisions must be made, and I don't envy any of you in this position, but I urge you to consider the long-term cost of this one. Because once these programs are gone, rebuilding them is not easy, and the opportunities lost for this group of students cannot be replaced. I respectfully ask that you reconsider these reductions and explore alternatives that preserve these courses and the opportunities they provide, because this is not just about classes. This is about students, it's about equity, and it's about the kind of educational experience that every Sweet Home student deserves. Thank you for your time.
Jonathan?
Hello, my name is Jonathan Makeley. I'm a community member. I live at 5 Durham Drive. I would like to speak to bring some attention to another aspect of public concerns in relations to the budget in regards to the matter of support for the needs of special education students. As was mentioned in the budget presentation, there would be the addition of 2 special education elementary classrooms and efforts to bring more of special education students that are currently receiving education out of the district and in-house. And also, as mentioned, looking at the staffing numbers for aides in the coming year. In regards to these things, I've seen some parents express concerns as to whether the new elementary classrooms would maintain the same level of support that the students are currently receiving elsewhere this year, and whether the level of aids provided would be maintained at a level where it'd be enough for all students that would need them. So I figured I'd bring mentions to these things and to express hope that going forward that the work will continue on with making sure that the needs of special education students are supported to the best of the district's ability. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Someone over here.
One more. All right, so last speaker. Friend, if there are more, we can add time, but
No.
in our allotted 30 minutes, this will be the last speaker.
Question. Hi, my name is Julie Danko. I'm a Sweet Home alum. And I'm gonna take you back to my first day in 8th grade. My high school experience wasn't the easiest. I'll never forget my first day transitioning into public school from homeschooling. Between a chaotic bus ride, bells ringing the halls, and a hyper cafeteria, to say I was overstimulated would be an understatement. 7th period was approaching as I stepped out of a barbaric hallway into an art room. This was the second moment of quiet I had noticed since the pause right before the Pledge of Allegiance that morning. I inhaled the smell of acrylics and pencil shavings, and for the first time, my nervous system settled as its surroundings formed a connection to a pastime of my prior life, art. As I climbed the grade ladder, I would continue to struggle socially and environmentally. I retreated to the art room for my lunch period to exist without feeling anxious. Sometimes I sat alone and poured into my work. Sometimes I sat with other kids who didn't quite fit in either, but it was a space where I felt okay. I had always been passionate about the arts and squeezed as many classes into my schedule as possible. Among my favorites were photography, advanced painting, and advanced drawing. I also had the honor of completing a portion of the AP art program. The teachers of those classes made me feel capable and seen in a way I hadn't experienced before. They showed me that I had talent and potential, even at a time when I was struggling internally and at home. Those classes gave me something to hold on to. For some, those advanced classes aren't just a safe space, they're a future. Cutting them doesn't just remove electives, it removes opportunities for students to grow, feel seen, and find direction. Many students go on to pursue careers in the fine arts, design, and architecture. These classes are not extras, they are foundations and they are pathways. And I basically just say all of this because I know we talk a lot about art as a creative outlet and we talk about it a lot as a pathway for future careers. But I think the mental and emotional health aspect of it sometimes gets left out. And so I just wanted to share a little bit of my story in hopes that that's something that people take into consideration when they're thinking about the budget. So, thank you.
Okay, do we have any more takers? Okay, seeing none, we will move on with the agenda. So this brings us to our new business, which we will be voting on as a consent agenda, A through L. Is L correct? Yes, A through L. Okay, so may I have a motion and a second for consent agenda items A through L?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Before we vote, I just want to read through them. Sorry. So A is our budget adoption. B is our special education class placements and preschool class placements.
Wait, I want to stop right there because
Oh, Mary Ann, sorry. Yes. Did you read them all?
465 pages. Thank you, Fallon, for.
Tis the month.
I was on a plane for hours and that's what I did. And again, every time I read those, it just amazes me what our support staff does, our special ed staff does for our kids, so.
Thank you. C is our monthly financial reports. D is our office supply and athletic uniform bids. E is our annual district vote for our chief election inspector and our inspectors of elections. F is our Erie One BOCES budget and Erie One BOCES board members. We talked about that earlier in our communications. There are 2 nominees for 2 open seats. Disposal of, G is dispose of obsolete property, which is buses and equipment, right? H is, our seeker for, our capital outlay project. I is our BOCES Dexter Terrace Suite Home contract. J is our capital improvement project phase 1 geotechnical reports. K is our capital improvement projects phase 1 surveying, and L is our suspension appeal that we discussed last week in executive session. Are there any comments or questions about A through L? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. That leads us to our informational items. Javon, would you like to kick us off?
I would.
Okay.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Well, first, I want to just give props to current and past students that came up and spoke about things they cared about. It's nice to see. But since the last time I spoke, there have been a few things going on throughout the school. The spring and winter pep rally was April 2nd, recognizing athletes and achievements all across the school. There were 2 music awards given out to students in both band and orchestra, recognizing their skill and high achievement at the All-County Festival. Senior athletes continuing their sports onto the next level at college were as well recognized. Also, some art students were shouted out for scholarships given for their work and honor they've received from art showings. Lastly, students inducted in National French, Spanish, and German Honor Society were recognized for these high academic achievements. There were a few mini games like musical chairs, grab the mic, and the Whitney Houston drum hit, where teachers and students played against each other, with the winner receiving a gift card. Moving on to a bit about the peer mentoring program. Instead of the high school students going to the middle school, they'll actually be coming to us for a shadowing day, I believe May 14th. And I ultimately just feel it will be beneficial for them to see and get a feel of like the high school life and how it works here. The senior tiles in the main hall are still as well being done. There were conflicts with a lot of seniors not being able to do them originally scheduled, but they are still being worked on and they look great. And lastly, I just want to mention the Connect Life blood drive is back for the spring, and students can sign up and donate, which will be on Friday, May 1st from 8 to 1 right here, and all donors receive a pair of Bison tickets and a t-shirt. Thank you.
Thank you. Marianne.
I've been traveling quite a bit, so move on.
Okay, Scott.
Okay, first thing, Savannah, I know your challenges, and I'm going to respond to your challenge about whether or not we have artwork. Not only do I have my own kids' artwork, my daughter does have a bachelor's degree in art. I also, about 10 years ago, Glendale School put together a project for Board Recognition Week where I have a tree with individual leaves on it, and every student in the school painted one of the leaves that's on that tree, and that still hangs in my bedroom from the last 10 years. So yes, I do have probably about 400 kids' artworks. Anyway, I just wanted to let you know. Just a couple quick things here over the last few weeks. I gotta get to my right point here. Back right after the last board meeting, I attended the 22nd Annual Safe Schools Initiative Seminar. Talks a lot about keeping your schools safe and for any number of different reasons. It's changed over the years. This is probably the 6th or 7th one I've attended. We had our DEI meeting. We met over at Maple Mere to discuss the exterior of the new building portion of stuff, and I think we're moving along very well on that. I had an alumni team meeting, chef meeting. Just last week, I attended the BOCES Twist on Tech program. They've been doing this every year for members of the Erie County Association School Boards. They've rotated through different BOCES. In this particular case, we went out to Potter's Road. What we do is Dr. Capuano, who's the district superintendent for BOCES, comes in and tells us a little bit about the program and what's going on in the other ones. And then they divide us up into groups, take us around to a few different programs in the school, and then show us, they actually have the students show us what they're doing, starting off with I don't remember exercise science, I think was the exact name of it. They have a gym that any one of our schools would love to have in there with the workout equipment, but the students showed us how they do things, how they work with muscle groups, how they teach other people. And they actually bring kids in from the other classes to work with them on that as they're moving forward on what their careers are going to be. Occupational therapist is a freaking one. One of them was going to become a professional dancer. Another one was going to become a surgeon. He learned that from talking to other people, but from there, they challenged us to help him out. And I did do one of the exercises and I actually got it right. Then they moved us into an early education class where they showed us and explained how they do some of the stuff there. And finally into sorry, I don't have the right name for it, a class where they were working on various things that they would do in the real world. We actually were shown a little bit about sewing, but they have any number of other things they're going to do similar to the careers class. And thank you, that we used to teach it. That's taught in the middle school, but it goes at a little bit more advanced level because they're in there longer than that. It was a great program. They also extended it for us so we could hang around a little bit more to see that the house that they're building outside, which will go up for auction this summer, they've been doing for several years. They're fairly long on it. It was very interesting that a couple of students explained to us how they do the whole thing. It's actually built in two pieces that are combined together with a walkway down the middle. After it gets auctioned off, they take the walkway out, it gets shipped away in two parts and dropped on a foundation somewhere. It's a pretty cool house, nice house if you want to bid on a house. They typically sell around $70,000 or $80,000. And finally, we had a safety committee meeting today where we're getting ready to start the annual safety program or plan that we have to get updated, and we'll be working on that over the next month or so. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Amy?
Just real quick, I would like to let everybody know it is 1-0. We are not in the lead. But more importantly,
1-0.
it is 1-0, sorry.
Oh.
More importantly, a handful of the speakers tonight, I've seen your work personally. I know it well. I work at Damon in the education department. I also have 3 kids that have been through Sweet Home. Every single one of them has gone through the art program. One of them actually has artwork hanging in the art hall. The art program is very important to all of us up here. All 3 of my kids are taking their creative journeys, I'll call it. 2 are employed, 1 is still in college, but they are all using what they've learned here from our incredible teachers. The conversation around art classes is never easy. There is a lot that goes into that thought process. There are a lot of sleepless nights, not only for Mr. Feldman and Dr. Genestri, but for us as a board, especially with our kids that have gone through this. So know that you're heard, know that we hear you, we see you, every single one of you. Doesn't go unnoticed, so keep speaking up. That's it.
Kirk?
Tag along on that a little bit. Not only art over the years, and I've been involved, I have kids have gone through the school system. Art, music, it seems like they come under attack in tough times. So I understand and appreciate everything you're saying and doing. And I'll let you know that it's music specifically with one of my children was really saved his life. So all your comments has forced me to rethink what we do when it comes to the budget and maybe take a harder look. I'll hold myself to the standard to take a harder look at our priorities and the distribution, the equitable distribution on what courses you, the community, feel are most valuable to our students. So that's what I got from you tonight. And so I appreciate your comments. Part of my role as a board member is to attend Heritage Heights PTA once a month. So I'll just give you a little bit of what happened there. Part of their goals generally are increased communications to students, family, and faculty. So again here, your input is very valuable, not only at this level, but even at the elementary building level. Increased parent involvement in things which you're doing tonight. Please continue to do that. We talked about STEM night, their cultural day night, which was very successful. They were very proud of what happened that week, that day. They are planning for some upcoming events, Arthur Visit, Teacher Appreciation Week, which they made me leave the room on that issue. So we appreciate teachers too. So anyways, that's all I have. Thank you.
Danny?
So I don't think I got to report on this last month because I was traveling for work, but we did do a walk around at Glendale, which was awesome. It's always awesome over at Glendale. That's my kids' homeschool, one of them anyway. I do want to say thank you for everyone that emailed. I gave it my best effort. I got like 20 emails in that I was able to reply, and then they just kept coming, and I got tired, and I have a day job and I got all these kids to take care of, and I'm sorry that I didn't get to email everybody back individually. But the one thing that really just struck me as a former English teacher myself is I'm reading through these and I'm like, everyone is so eloquent. So like there is a red thread between, you know, the visual and music arts and all of that kind of stuff and self-expression and being able to write. So I thought that was just really awesome. Couple of things just because we're approaching the end of senior year for a lot of kids, my son included. He's a BOCES kid, so he goes to his program in the morning and he only comes back to school a couple days a week to go to gym class. So for anybody who's listening, if you have kids that are in that position, keep your eyes open because there's a lot happening between now and the end of the year. There's things to pick up, things to order, more things to order, stuff to do. There's just a lot that the kids have to get done before graduation. So just, you know, keep an eye on that. Also coming up for all the buildings is Leadership Day. So if you have the opportunity to attend a Leadership Day at any of the buildings that your kids are in, I strongly encourage you to go. It is so much fun. The kids are so proud to show you their work. We've got middle school coming up on Friday, so I'm going to cry the whole time and I'm very excited about it. Yeah, it's the good stuff. It's the good stuff of them getting to show us what they've been working on. So that's all I got.
Peter, if I may, Danielle
Yes.
mentioned that we visited Glendale last month, and I just want to throw a point in there while we're at it, to talk about constantly changing registration at the school. Mrs. Delaplante mentioned to us at that point when we came in that there was 5 new kids that week. That was early in May, or excuse me, early in March.
Right?
Yep, the only thing well, first of all, I appreciate everybody being here, but, and I will also, agree, I agree with how eloquent and articulate everybody has been in their emails and in speaking. And, you know, again, I think that just highlights how, much the creative element, impacts us in many other areas of our lives. The only other piece I'll mention is I attended a PTSA meeting at the middle school. They are looking for officers. So if anybody here is interested or at home, they are looking for some additional help.
Are you looking at me?
Looking around.
Okay, so again, I do reiterate, I want to thank everybody for coming. As a high school participation in government teacher, I'm very impressed with your advocacy through emails, for coming up and speaking, especially the ones that have hard time speaking, who took the courage to come up there. I know that's not easy. I'm Mary, I'm like you, I cannot draw a stick figure myself. I do have my oldest son graduated last year. He is more of an analytical kid and took a lot of AP science and math that I could never do either. But my daughter is a freshman and she is starting her foray into science next year. She's registered for one of the photography classes. So I understand where everybody was coming from, and I hope you understand our position and everything, and the work that our district office has put in over this last week, based on your advocacy for the art program. So thank you for that. As for my information, I am Willow Ridge. They did not have a meeting in April because of the spring break. So we have a meeting, I think, the first week of May. I've actually attended my daughter's first softball game today. They won 8-7 in 8 innings today on a walk-off single. So congratulations to them. And that is it for me. So. All right, that leads us to our second open session. Would anyone like to address the board? Same rules apply. You would have 3 minutes. Please state your name, address, and relationship to Sweet Home. Okay, leads us to our personnel. May I have a motion and a second on personnel items 1, teaching and administrative, and 2, service?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, just so you know, we have our regular resignations, appointments that Dr. Genestri went through earlier this evening, some substitute appointments, and for service, some retirements, resignations, and appointments in that area. So all in favor on our personnel?
Aye.
Okay, which leads us to the favorite part of the night, adjournment. So may I have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting? We do not need to go to executive session, so.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and just as an update, there's 5 minutes to go in the second. Boston is up